So I talked about Donkey Kong in my last video, and I figured, you know what, I wasn't going to originally talk about Donkey Kong Jr. next, but I decided I may as well talk about this game and get it out of the way. It only makes sense to talk about this game after the original. So this is Donkey Kong Jr., an arcade game released in 1982 by Nintendo, and the sequel to Donkey Kong. If not a sequel, a spiritual successor, or maybe even an evolution in gameplay. And if you want to consider the storyline, it is definitely a sequel to the original Donkey Kong, as it takes place right after Jumpman defeats Donkey Kong. In this game, Jumpman decides that he wants to get revenge on Donkey Kong by imprisoning him inside a cage. And Donkey Kong's son, Donkey Kong Jr., finds out that he's been kidnapped, or gorilla-napped, captured by Jumpman, and goes on a rescue mission. Quite an interesting turn of events. Jumpman's the hero of the original game, Donkey Kong is the villain, and now Jumpman's the villain, and Donkey Kong is the damsel in distress. And his son, Donkey Kong Jr., is the hero. In fact, the tables don't even turn, they just go around in a circle a little bit, like a rock, paper, scissors type of system. But it kind of makes you wonder, this man has a son, and by man I mean gorilla. Why is he going around kidnapping human women anyway? Like, where's your gorilla mate? Where's she at, Donkey Kong? Where's the boy's mother? She probably dumped Donkey Kong after she found out that he was going around kidnapping human women. Imagine getting busy with a female gorilla and then going around like 3 or 4 years. I'm not sure how old Donkey Kong Jr. is in this game, but imagine, and after a few years you have an affair by kidnapping human women. All jokes aside, let's talk about the gameplay. Referring back to what I was saying earlier, the gameplay of Donkey Kong Jr. carries over from the original Donkey Kong. But not only does it do that, it also adds something new to the gameplay. First off, DK Jr. can jump, and he can move around left and right. Unlike Jumpman, who climbs ladders, DK Jr. climbs vines and ropes, which is this game's biggest addition to the gameplay. There aren't any hammers in this game, but there's still a way to defend yourself from enemies, which by the way are enemies that Jumpman sends out, kind of like what Donkey Kong did in the original game. Not just enemies, but obstacles as well. Which brings me to talk about the levels, which, just like the original Donkey Kong, DK Jr. has 4 levels. The first level is the vine scene, which introduces the player to Donkey Kong's natural habitat, and shows the player what Donkey Kong Jr. could do. In this level, you'll be climbing vines and dodging reptilian predators. I'm not sure if they're alligators or crocodiles. All I know is that they look like either one, they're red or blue, and they have teeth. The red ones randomly choose to go anywhere, and Mario sends out the blue ones to try and attack you wherever you are. While climbing vines, DK Jr. can grab fruit and drop them on top of enemies. This acts more as an equivalent to the hammer system in the original game. At the end of each level, you grab the key, and Jumpman moves Donkey Kong to the next area. And in the arcade version, you can see Jumpman moving Donkey Kong to another location right as he's about to unlock the cage, right as DK Jr. is about to unlock the cage. And DK Jr. just looks so confused, because why did that just happen? Looks like he just lost a brain cell. The next round is called the jump board scene. Jump board referring to the one singular trampoline at the beginning of the level that you only bounce on once. You're making your way to the top once again, but this time instead of the snap jaws, which I forgot to mention were the name of the reptile enemies in the first round, Jumpman throws nitpickers, which are birds that will come down and try to attack you while you're on a, well, I would say a vine, but they're chains now, and they will drop in any random specific height, and you have to dodge them as they come towards you. But not only that, they also randomly drop eggs as they fly towards you. This also reminds me that I forgot to talk about the rope climbing system in general. While climbing a rope, DK Jr. can grab onto one rope or two ropes. This influences how fast or how slow you climb up or climb down ropes. While gripping one rope, DK Jr. climbs really slow, but he can slide down really fast. When gripping two ropes, it's the exact opposite. You climb up faster, but you slide down slower. There are going to be situations in this game where you have to take advantage of this system and recognize what you need to do in the situation that you're in, because it could really help you dodge enemies if you know what you're doing. The third round is Mario's Hideout. It's also the first level that takes place in an artificial area, unlike the first two levels which take place in the jungle. In the arcade version, there's even a little cutscene in between levels 2 and 3, where Jumpman is taking Donkey Kong to level 3 in a helicopter, and DK Jr. follows them using a parasol. I don't know how that's possible, but it's a fun little game. It's a cartoony type of game. Unlike the first two levels, instead of climbing vines and chains, we're climbing up pipes now because we are in the city, and this is some kind of electrical plant where DK Jr. has to zigzag his way up and dodge a lot of electrical stuff. The fruit can somehow still destroy the electricity though. By the way, the enemies are called sparks. The fourth and final round is the chain scene, which is probably somewhere located inside of Jumpman's hideout. Why does he have a hideout anyway? What is a carpenter doing with a hideout? The Snapjaws make a return, and there's a lot of birds flying around. You have to climb the pipes to move all the keys into the keyholes at the top of the platform. These 6 keyholes will unlock the cage to Donkey Kong, and you beat the game. But you've also got to do a lot of dodging and probably a lot of offensive maneuvers, such as using the fruit to get rid of enemies, which doesn't really last long because they pretty much just keep coming, especially the birds. And you've really got to watch out for the birds and where exactly they're going to fly. They come out frequently. But after you rescue Donkey Kong, DK Jr. catches him, and Jumpman falls to not his death. Instead, somehow he just gets up and tries to chase after DK and DK Jr., but Donkey Kong just kicks the crap out of him, and then he runs away to go wipe his butt and wash his overalls, probably. I'm surprised that he even survived that fall. As a matter of fact, in the NES version, it looks like he's just dead, or at least knocked out, especially with the halo floating around him, or over him. After this, I don't think Jumpman or Donkey Kong mess with each other ever again, and they went their separate ways. I feel like in some sort of golden age of cartoons sort of way, Jumpman and Donkey Kong are both pieces of crap. Like, think of any golden age cartoon rivalry you can think of. Like Bugs Bunny versus Elmer Fudd, Yosemite Sam, Daffy Duck, Sylvester versus Tweety Bird, Wile E. Coyote versus Roadrunner, Tom versus Jerry. You think one side is innocent and the other side is evil, but then you come to realize what these characters really are, and on the inside, they're both pieces of crap with a potential possible heart of gold. And they just like to cause a lot of mischief because it's a part of their cartoony DNA. I'm probably thinking about this a little too deeply, but I really just enjoy those early 1900s to mid-1900s golden age cartoons. And these games sort of feel reminiscent of the golden age of cartoons. If you look at some of the official artwork and the promo art for Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr., Jumpman alone looks like he could be Popeye's distant cousin. As far as gameplay goes, I don't really think there's much I can add or say that will make the video any bigger or longer than it should be. Gameplay wise, is really just the same game as Donkey Kong, with just some new added features and a new playable character. When I was playing the arcade version of this game for the first time, I was surprised at how challenging it was compared to the NES version. because the NES version was challenging. This game overall is more difficult than the original Donkey Kong, at least in my opinion, but I was surprised at the difficulty curve of the original arcade version. After I got through all 4 levels, I was pretty much done with the game at that point and I did not want to play it anymore. But it was a pretty fun experience. I do enjoy a challenge in video games, and I think this game was doing what it was supposed to do. We don't really see this style of 2D puzzle platforming anymore by Nintendo until 1994 when Donkey Kong for Game Boy comes out. Nintendo would pretty much just move on from Donkey Kong. We'll talk about Donkey Kong 3 in the next video, but as far as what Nintendo was doing with 2D platforming, it seems that they had other ambitions and projects in mind. I'd like to think that Nintendo had some ideas for a future Donkey Kong title that would knock this gameplay style out of the water, and they just didn't have the technology for that at the time, at least not until 1994. I feel like they just had to know that there was a lot of potential here, because DK Jr. had a lot of great gameplay ideas. But I think that's all I really gotta say about DK Jr. In the next video, we'll be talking about Donkey Kong 3, the game that made me question where Donkey Kong 2 was at. Which, by the way, is a completely different game, but we're gonna talk about it next time. Until then, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Have a blessed day.